90.7 KPFK, Los Angeles.
The following radio program has been approved for broadcast by the Federal Communications Commission and is in compliance with all community standards. Thank you.
From Los Angeles,
The Cary Files. Crack the code and break the lock. Racing shadows round the clock. We're the ones to find the truth for all the lost and hurtless youth. Yeah, we'll find the truth. The Cary Files.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? Well, you call low-cost airlines because they specialize in cheap flights, in discount hotel rooms, in cheap car rentals, and with the best price guarantee. Often 75% off. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795. Let's talk about what's going on right now that is so exciting. There really are not words. Peter Thiel. Have you heard that name before? That's Thiel. He's a man who looks like what would happen if a Bond villain's tax attorney got hit by a beam of pure libertarian ambition and decided to become human. Peter. He's one of the big folks, way up high in your government now, except you've probably never heard of him. You never see about him, but you're going to hear about him today because he's apparently run out of governments to destabilize and is now going after theology itself. Not content with having built the Palantir surveillance apparatus that feeds your neighbor right into a deportation van. And not satisfied with having bankrolled a vice president who makes Mike Pence look like Hunter Thompson. This guy is a German-born, well, we'll leave an ellipsis after that because it's more than ironic. Peter Thiel has saddled up his apocalyptic hobby horse and has trotted directly to Rome, to a palazzo, steps from the Vatican. Because when you're going to explain who the Antichrist is, you may as well do it in the Antichrist's neighborhood. He's at an invitation-only event for his invitation. 4 lectures. No press allowed. Everyone has an NDA, which is exactly the kind of event the Antichrist would throw if you think about it, but we're not here to think about it. Herr Thiel's thesis is that the Antichrist isn't some horned, sulfurous beast crawling up from the pit. That's old Antichrist thinking. The new Antichrist is a bureaucrat, is a regulator, someone who wants to slow down technology in the name of, quote, safety. In Thiel's eschatology, the greatest threat to Western civilization isn't nuclear war. The greatest threat is not ecological collapse or the fact that Elon Musk is in charge of the government's accounting. The greatest threat to Western civilization by the guy who created Palantir, the guy who invented PayPal, the guy now in charge of all AI over the United States, the inventor of it, the greatest threat to Western civilization is, according to him, Greta Thunberg. Yep, Greta Thunberg, or Thunberg, a Swedish teenager with a disability, a braided pigtail, and a sailboat. Yeah, according to Peter Thiel, a foot soldier of Satan is she. He said this in leaked recordings with the serenity of a man ordering a flat white. He also named AI safety researcher Eliezer Yudowski, who is basically a guy who writes very long blog posts about robots, as a co-agent of the infernal. Yep, that guy. So the axis of evil, Thiel edition, consists of one anxious Jewish blogger and a Nordic girl who skipped school. Hell truly hath no fury like a billionaire who doesn't want his robot companies regulated. Now, this creator of both PayPal and Palantir didn't come up with this theological architecture entirely on his own. He had help specifically from Carl Schmitt. You're like, okay, great, Carl Schmitt. Carl Schmitt, the World War II Nazi legal theorist. See, when you're a libertarian tech oligarch shopping for intellectual frameworks, apparently the Nazi section is just the most ergonomically convenient aisle. Carl Schmitt argued that world history is a cosmic cage match, really, between the Antichrist and the catacon, which is a Greek for the restrainer. This is part of that wonderful Germanic mythology, the catacon with a K, the restrainer, something that is a force, keeps the Antichrist back and contained. In Carl Schmitt's version, strong continental empires like the Third Reich were the catacon, holding back the Antichrist. In Peter Thiel's remix, apparently, Peter Thiel is the catacon, he himself, which is a self-assessment that even his own mirror must find as a funhouse reflection. But what Thiel has essentially done is take regulatory policy debates, boring, important, democratic regulatory policy debates, and recast them as revelation. Should the EU regulate AI? Well, that's not a policy question anymore. That's prophesied satanic interference, or PSI, not pounds per square inch. Prophesied satanic interference, or prophesied. How do we even say that? How do we say that word? How often do we say that word? Never. Should there be international bodies governing weapons-grade machine learning? Brother, you just joined the Legion of Antichrist by asking that one, didn't you? Congratulations on your pitchfork. The Geneva Convention? Probably Beelzebub's HR department. Now, this is not mysticism. It's not even interesting heresy. It's a lobbying strategy wearing a cassock. It's deregulation fan fiction with footnotes from the book of Revelation. It's what you get when a man worth billions decides, I don't want oversight. And that same man needs an upgrade from op-ed to prophecy. This is, by the way, the Cary Harrison Files, caryharrison.com, C-A-R-Y. We're talking about PayPal and Palantir inventor Peter Thiel, who has flown to Rome, steps from the Vatican to tell hand-selected billionaires that climate scientists and AI regulators are literally agents of Satan. There's no press there, none allowed. Everyone has signed an NDA because it's not really happening. It's happening, but it's not really happening. No press because it's happening, but it's not really happening. And a Nazi legal theorist as his theological blueprint from 80 years ago from the Third Reich, the perfect way to understand the future as he sees it. We're looking exactly at what he's selling, who's buying it, and soon we're going to talk about how to make sure it's not you. That's the key thing. It's not like you need more poison in your news diet here. You need to know how to get through it and get around it. And we're going to get to that in a minute. Back to the fun, back to the frolic, back to the Vatican, which has seen some things, to be honest. It's been around for 2,000 years. It's watched emperors and then plagues, Borgia popes, the Reformation came and went, looked at Peter Thiel, the Vatican did, doing his little Antichrist lecture series like in a Renaissance palazzo around the corner. And remember, these are Protestants. These are not Catholics going in there in a Catholic spot. These are Protestants going in and talking about all of this stuff in a Catholic domain. And all of this is just so nuts in Third Reich. And the Vatican said, let's just say with the weary authority of an institution that has literally excommunicated kings, they said, quote, I'm going to quote here, that man is the dark side of technology, end quote. And the two Catholic universities that were originally attached to the event, backed away so fast they left brown skid marks on the travertine. So, look, Peter Thiel, he's obviously an extremely intelligent man. This is what makes him so magnificently, operatically dangerous. He's not a kook. He's not preaching this in a parking lot to 11 people with sandwich boards or people with missing teeth. He's preaching it in a palazzo to 200 hand-selected tech. Excuse me. I need a sip of coffee. Delicious. He's preaching this in a palazzo to 200 hand-selected tech aristocrats and conservative Christian money changers, all bullwhipped with ferocious NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, with no press, not available. It's like banned. All while the president of the United States owes this same man a lot of favors. And the same vice president is his former mentee. So Peter Thiel was the mentor. The current vice president is his former mentee. And this guy is building, with some care and considerable financing, a theological immune system for American oligarchy, a complete spiritual framework in which every attempt to govern the powerful is recast as the work of Satan. And every billionaire who resists oversight is, by definition, doing the Lord's work. Wow. What a beautiful way to reframe global domination using technology to take over the entire planet. Mr. Thiel, as we speak, in Rome, doing this private symposium with no press. Everyone has an NDA. The richest billionaires and multi-hundred millionaires in the world who think like this, who want to have all the power. So an oligarchy of just a small bunch. He's sketching a world where only powerful elites with tools and nerve can steer history. Yep, not you. Oh, no, Mildred, not you. Only powerful elites with special tools and a lot of nerve can steer history. Oh, bring up the music. This isn't random Silicon Valley eccentricity. You're hearing an echo, a very old, very loaded echo that once marched in jackboots. He isn't out there goose-stepping through Rome or calling for a Fourth Reich. That's not the game. The game is subtler. It's slicker, dressed in Patagonia vests even, instead of uniforms. It's about borrowing the structure of thought without that icky branding from 80 years ago. It's the skeleton without the skull. And that's what makes it unsettling in a way that's less comic book villain and more quiet guy at the table who's a little too comfortable with extreme ideas. It's not, loud tyranny. It's intellectual permission for it. These tech billionaires, well, they love framework. What is technology? Nothing more than framework. That's it. That's what makes it work. It's like math. It has to balance. It has to fit. So tech billionaires and their framework, and why wouldn't they love that? It's got everything. This framework has conflict as inevitable. It has protests as irrational. It has stability only being achieved through identifying and isolating what they call the problem. Yep. Isolating and identifying the problem. Bring in Palantir. Surveil all the live humans, build dossiers on them, and then go after them. The problem, by the way, is code for you, Missy, as Mommy Dearest would say. So let's boil it down. Let's drain off the theatrics. And his argument it's really almost boring in its clarity. Systems are built to solve massive problems and can accumulate power in ways that become permanent and hard to unwind. That's it. No pitchforks required. Systems built to solve massive problems. You're the problem. You're the problem. Systems built to solve massive problems that can accumulate power in ways that become permanent and hard to unwind. Wow. So here are the six steps, the 6 Cary Harrison Files steps on how to not get raptured up by a billionaire. You can think of yourself now as a member of a 6-step program. So here's the thing about Peter Thiel's little Revelation Roadshow that nobody in the invitation-only palazzo is going to tell you. It only works if you don't see it coming. Like everything else, the entire architecture of this grift, let's call it what it is. It's a grift wearing a doctoral robe. It depends on you being too busy, too exhausted, or too algorithmically marinated to notice that someone just repackaged "Don't regulate my companies" as the word of God. And the moment you name that trick, well, the trick stops working. Oops. So let's name every single one of them in good, clean radio fun. Step 1, learn to spot when policy gets dressed up as prophecy. This is the foundational con. It's older than Peter Thiel. It's older than Carl Schmitt. It's older than the Vatican itself. It's that old. Whenever someone tells you that a political position is cosmically ordained and that their preferred tax rate is divinely sanctioned, that their deregulation agenda is literally fighting Satan, your first instinct should be the same instinct you'd have if a stranger at a bus stop told you God personally wanted you to wire him $400. That instinct is called skepticism, and it's free. And it works on any operating system, and no billionaire can patent it. So ask yourself one question, just one. Who benefits materially from this theological position? If the answer is the guy delivering the theology to the tune of several $1 billion, well, you've found your con. Thiel doesn't want AI regulated. Thiel has enormous financial stakes in AI being unregulated. Thiel has now declared that AI regulation is the work of the Antichrist. This isn't a coincidence requiring a theology degree to decode. This is a man putting his thumb on the scale and calling the thumb Jesus. Cary Harrison Files, CaryHarrison.com. We're talking about PayPal and Palantir inventor Peter Thiel, flown to Rome, steps from the Vatican, hand-selected billionaires in the room, teaching them that climate scientists and AI regulators are literally agents of Satan. There's no press. Everyone has an NDA, and it's all based on a dead Nazi legal theorist from 80 years ago, using all of that as a theological blueprint. And you thought the Germans lost World War II. So we're looking at who's selling it, who's buying it, and how to make sure it's not you. In our Cary Harrison Files, 6 steps to not being raptured up by a billionaire, let's jump to step 2, shall we? How to avoid being raptured up by that tech billionaire. Understand that it's too complicated for you. That's step 2. It's just too complicated for you. That's a power move, not a fact. One of the great unspoken hustle techniques of the oligarch class, formerly it used to be us on each other, but we're sort of no longer empowered to even do it at that level. But one of the great unspoken hustle techniques of the oligarch class is the deliberate cultivation of complexity. The sense that whatever they're doing is simply too sophisticated for regular people to evaluate, for regular people to question, for regular people to govern. Mr. Thiel is doing this with technology. He's doing it with theology. He's doing it with references to Carl Schmitt, Sieg Heil. who you haven't read in the original German, which you don't speak, and he's doing it all in the palazzo you weren't invited to. And the press isn't there, so we can't actually cover it. And everyone has an NDA, so they can't actually talk about it.
If you're over 62, living alone, and have received a collection letter from the IRS, stop what you're doing and listen. You need someone that you can lean on and that will fight for you.
Hi, I'm Matt Levy. I'm the founder of Ovation Tax Group. Every single week, we get thousands of American taxpayers the help that they deserve.
The IRS is now more aggressive and efficient than ever at tracking down people who owe back taxes and have unfiled returns. They could already be preparing to seize your assets, including your pension, 401k, home, or even your Social Security. But here's the good news. You may qualify for special relief programs, especially if you are older than 62. Call us now. We specialize in helping seniors get relief from IRS collections, wage garnishments, and bank levies. In many cases, we can get tax debt completely forgiven, or at least drastically reduced, with a great repayment plan.
Call us. We'll protect you, we'll fight for you, and we'll win for you. We're Ovation Tax Group.
Call now, 866-204-0972. 866-204-0972. 866-204-0972.
Here's what you actually need to know about Carl Schmitt. He was a Nazi, a real one. That's it. That's the whole thing. You don't need to read The Concept of the Political to evaluate whether Peter Thiel building his worldview on Nazi legal theory is a good or bad development. You already have that answer. It came with you from the factory. The complexity is the product. They want you to feel, listen closely, they want you and me to feel unqualified to have an opinion. Don't cooperate with that. An unregulated AI industry that consolidates power in the hands of a dozen men, it's not complicated. It's a billionaire saying regulators are demonic. That's not sophisticated. It's a man not wanting to be told what to do, dressed up in a $1,000 philosophical suit. Once upon a time, you might have ridden the railroads in this country. The ones that built that, same argument from the get-go. It's just a rerun of this, about 200 years later. Here's the Cary Harrison Files, step 3 in avoiding being raptured up by a tech billionaire. Read the actual primary source before the algorithm reads it for you. Step 3 of avoidance. So, Thiel's operation, and this goes for the whole class of oligarchs currently redecorating democracy, it runs on mediation. He wants to be the one who tells you what the news means. He wants his funded media properties. Let's bring in the White House, too, while we're at it, shall we? He wants his funded media properties, his underwritten think tanks, his theological lecture series, sitting between you and reality like a very expensive toll booth. The solution to a toll booth is going around it. Oh my God, why didn't they teach me this in kindergarten? This means for you and me reading primary sources. I know it's a pain in the ass, but it's not reading the content, which is in front of us. It's ubiquitous. It's scrolling. It's here. It's there. It's everywhere. Not a hot take, not a newsletter written by someone who read a tweet about someone who summarized a paper. The actual bill. Here we are, critical thinking again, having to be grown-ups, but we have to do it for our survival, for mine, for yours, for ours together. We have to read the actual bills, the actual studies, the actual transcripts. So when our leadership, whoever that may be, says something, listening to the soundbite, I mean, it's delivered in a way where we're used to it. We sort of roll our eyes, but read the transcript of the soundbite. It's an entirely different thing. And you're going to see madness, disconnection. You're going to be able to read all the stuff that supports and validates what your eyeballs see, what your ear holes actually hear. The actual studies, the actual transcripts. It takes longer, but it's worth it, because when you read the actual thing, you're going to notice with some regularity that the hot take version, that would be the thing to glance at the headline, has been quietly rotated 45 degrees away from what the primary source actually said. The rotation is not accidental. The rotation is the product. And we know this in LA. I mean, how many of our friends are publicists? How many of them? Like 8 out of 10? Or, you work in the industry. That's exactly what you do. You take an apple, rotate it 45 degrees, and it's something completely different. It looks like an apple, but it's not. It might be a watermelon at this point. I don't know, but that's the new product, inspired by true events, based on facts. That's the product, the rotation. Here's your Cary Harrison Files step 4 of how not to be raptured up by a billionaire. We're going to treat urgency and apocalypticism. That's a new word, but I'm glad I was able to say it. So we'll start using that word, shall we? Apocalypticism. I love creating words here with you. We're going to treat urgency and apocalypticism as red flags, not as accelerants. They want all of this to accelerate the thing that they're building, because when life is so bad, when 6 months ago there was stability in the world, such as it was, sort of traditional stability, the economy was stable, things were stable, people still had jobs, unemployment was low, there was stability. Then you come and you blow it up, and after 1 year, people are so desperate, really the only one that can save you is the government. They're the only ones big enough to say, well, we'll give you some food, or we'll give you this or that, or we'll let you have your Medicare. That's what they do. They create urgency and apocalypticism, and they create them, and you're stuck, and you start begging for it. But we're going to treat those as red flags, not as accelerants of something we should run toward. One of the consistent features, think about it, of authoritarian grifts, and Thiel's is this one, dressed as eschatology and Silicon Valley zip codes. One of them is the manufactured sense that there's no time, that we're at a civilizational inflection point, that the Antichrist is literally here, and we got to move now, which means there's no time to deliberate. There's no time for democratic process. There's no time for the boring grindstone institutional work of self-governance. We have to act decisively, and the decisive actor conveniently always knows what to do. Like John Wayne in the 1960s, get in a tank at Kent State and run people over. The decisive actor conveniently always knows what to do, like our leadership. Decisive. They always know what to do. So whenever someone is selling you urgency, ask yourself, who benefits from you not thinking? Urgency is the enemy of judgment, right? Urgency is the enemy of judgment. It's why car salesmen tell you the deal expires at midnight. It's why the apocalyptic theology has been used to move populations since before the printing press. The end is near. It's the oldest marketing slogan in human history, and it's never once been true on the schedule advertised. Take your time. The Antichrist, if he exists, has been running late for about 2,000 years. So you've got a few minutes to check the footnotes. Cary Harrison with you. This is the Cary Harrison Files, live streaming right now on Substack and YouTube. Simply Google Cary Harrison, C-A-R-Y, Harrison, Substack, or YouTube, or just go to kpfk.net for the shortcut, and you're going to see live video of this monologue, plus your live phone calls. And when you get our newsletter at caryharrison.com, you're going to get a transcript of everything that you and I have been talking about, all of it in writing, plus the phone calls, which are usually pithy and fun and punchy and occasionally caustic. What are you going to do? It's live radio. So all of that is there. Make sure you get the newsletter at caryharrison.com. Here's your step 5 in avoiding being raptured up by a tech billionaire. You're going to build horizontal relationships and local knowledge. What do I mean by that? It's probably the most important and least glamorous piece of all of these 6 steps of your new 6-step program. Thiel's power, like all oligarchic power, depends on vertical information flows. What are those? Well, if you're, again, in business or in the media, everything is in verticals now. Remember when CBS, was just flat? You watch the TV and then maybe they had some billboards and then those billboards started to become verticals. In other words, you've got the TV show and then the billboard advertising the same TV show because the media company now owns the billboards and then they start to own the subway. This is New York City now, and then it's spreading out all over. So these become verticals. So oligarchic power, it depends on our vertical information flows. Peter Thiel broadcasts down to you, not up, down to you. You receive. He is the transmitter. You are the receiver. You're the radio, the actual physical radio. His platforms, his funded media, his theological lecture series, his think tanks, all of it flows in one direction, from him to you. What disrupts is that horizontal connection, the one that you and I have. You talking to your neighbors, your community, your local institutions, people you actually look in the eye. Yeah, maybe shake their sweaty palm, say, pardon me at Ralph's. It feels like nostalgia, right? The good old days. It's structural. It's structural, and that's why it works. It's a community that talks to itself, and it's much harder to manipulate than a collection of isolated individuals, each staring alone at a screen curated by an algorithm that Peter Thiel himself, that his class built, and that he owns. Wow, right? That explains why I feel the way I do. Isolated, staring alone at my screen. There's nothing I can do. And what's on the screen has been curated for me to stare at. So I'm getting programmed and led exactly off the cliff. But if I start talking to my friends, having coffee, saying hello in the grocery store, building a physical live human community, that's the workaround. Go to the city council meeting. It's terrible. It's boring, but it's democracy. Good. Subscribe to your local newspaper if one still exists. Join something. Join a union. Join a congregation. Join a neighborhood association. Join your condo association. Ugh. Join a book club. Anything. Join anything that requires you to negotiate reality with other live humans in real time. The tech oligarchs have spent 20 years systematically replacing those horizontal relationships, that's what we're going to call them, replacing them with vertical, monetized, surveilled substitutes, because horizontal relationships are the one thing their platforms can't fully replicate and can't fully control. They got rid of your town square. They replaced it with Twitter and called it progress. It wasn't progress. It was a land grab. And I want you to start to think about all of this in those terms. We're going to break in just a second. We're going to open up the phones, but we're going to finish here with step 6. And I want you to know that you are the product, and I want you to act accordingly. Yep, you, Mildred. Yep, you right there. That's it. I see you pouring your little Friskies into a bowl, not for the cat, but for yourself, because they forgot to send you your Social Security. You, honey, you are the product. So I want you to act accordingly. Every free platform that you and I use, Facebook, when we Google, even though I've asked you to Google, sure, but you're now aware, every free platform you use is private property, not yours. When you're on Facebook, it's private property of, I want to say Mark Witherspoon. I don't know why. No, it's owned property. When you step on Facebook, Mr. Zuckerberg can do whatever he wants with your images, your data, your voice, everything you've written. It is his property. It is not your property. Just like if you stepped on somebody's lawn and put a bunch of your stuff there, it is no longer your stuff. The second you step off his lawn, you can burn it, throw it away, whatever, unless you're a tenant, but we're not talking about that. You are on private property when you're on Facebook. You're on private property when you're using Google. It's free. Unless they charge you, then you have a sense of, an expected sense of privacy and an expected sense of ownership of your own content. But when you are on a free platform, including apps, every algorithm that curates your news, every AI assistant that answers your questions, your ChatGPT, your Claude, everything you do that curates news, that answers your questions, every chatbot, they know what that is that you're on. Know who built it now. Find out. Find out who profits from it and what it's optimizing for. It's probably not optimizing for your epistemic. Okay. Sorry. I'm just trying to find the right words. Let's come up with a different word. It's not optimizing for your independence now, is it? It's probably optimizing for your engagement, which is a polite word for your addiction. Engaged users are profitable users. Outraged users are very engaged. You know, I'll just tell you, that's the old radio trick from the old analog world. We would, in talk radio, back in the days when it was actually fun and it was balanced, we would come up with topics that were pretty outrageous because you knew it would light the lines. And it created a great show, and it was fun to listen to, and everyone liked it. And they were outraged listeners, and they were very engaged. And we called them P1 listeners, Prime 1. Prime 1 listeners are with you on every show. They'll show up at your live remotes. They'll show up at the mall if you're going live from there. Prime 2 listeners, sometimes there, sometimes not. Definitely love it. Prime 3, P4s, Prime 4s, not at all. So it's the same broadcast model, but it's now been rebuilt, refocused, and perfected in this modern digital surveilled world. So optimizing you for your engagement by just training you over and over again on your free platforms, using your free apps, and offering you all these chatbots. And they own everything you say forever and ever, and they can use it against you. Yep, they're making you addicted. Even if you don't have an addictive personality, you're addicted. If you do have an addictive personality, boy, are you addicted. Like me and my coffee and pretty much everything else that moves and blinks. Engaged users, like you and me, we're profitable users. Outraged users are very engaged. And this is not a conspiracy. It's a business model. It's printed in their SEC filings. So use these tools. Use ChatGPT to find out who owns these things. Use their own tools to find out who they are and what they're doing. Wow, imagine that. Use their tools to find out. They're these useful tools. Don't just let the tools use you. There's a difference between picking up a hammer and becoming the nail. So none of this requires a palazzo. None of it requires an NDA or a theology degree or being invited to a lecture series in Rome. It only requires the oldest and most subversive technology available to any human being with a functioning cerebral cortex. paying attention on purpose to things that matter with your own unoutsourced brain. So let's prove these guys wrong, these technocrats, these oligarchs. It's free for us to have fun, and it drives them absolutely insane. Don't forget to subscribe on Substack at Cary Harrison, because the Antichrist definitely doesn't want you to. We're going to pause here, open up the phones. Coming up, we're going to get a sense of what you're doing to protect yourself. Have you taken yourself off the grid? Are you practicing digital hygiene and cleaning up your Facebook? Are you having old-fashioned conversations with live, upright humans or supine ones? Really, I don't judge. What are you doing? And what do you recommend for the rest of us? Your Harrison hotlines, 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Our text line is also 310-737-TALK, 310-737-TALK.
The Cary Harrison File.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? Well, you call low-cost airlines because they specialize in cheap flights, in discount hotel rooms, in cheap car rentals, and with the best price guarantee. Often 75% off. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795.
How'd it happen?
She showed up dead on arrival.
This never gets easier.
It does when you call CarShield before your car breaks down. Look at these prices. The camshaft, transmission, engine.
Don't people know? A plan through CarShield could protect up to 5,000 parts and systems.
You hate to see it.
An out-of-warranty car is going to break down eventually.
Right, which is why they need a plan through CarShield.
Best of all, you'll get access to CarShield's concierge service, who can even help you find a mechanic near you.
They're notifying the family.
Poor guy. He doesn't even know what's coming.
Another victim of senselessly expensive repair bills. Can't save them all.
But we can keep trying. Didn't have to end this way. If he'd have just called CarShield before his car broke down.
Exactly.
CarShield has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and was voted America's most trusted auto protection company. It's time to call CarShield now. Call 800-786-8390. 800-786-8390. Call 800-786-8390.
Smells like fish. Tastes like chocolate.
It's the Cary Harrison Files. CaryHarrison.com.
And it is the Cary Harrison Files. Cary Harrison with you. Live video streaming on YouTube and Substack, everything with a chip and a signal or a shortcut at kpfk.net. You can later listen as a podcast across every service. Simply Google Cary Harrison or the Cary Harrison Files. Our newsletter with a transcript of this entire show, plus your calls, stuff we can't say on the radio. Usually your calls. Is it Cary, C-A-R-Y, Harrison.com or GoHarrison.com if your fingers are pooped. Well, we're going to jump to the phones in just a second. In between, I'm going to ask you something. When did you last get invited to a palazzo in Rome? Yeah, me neither. Peter Thiel, the man who built the software that helps the government find your undocumented neighbor, the man who spent $100 million putting J.D. Vance one heartbeat from the presidency, the man who looks like what a venture capitalist would look like if you described one to a police sketch artist. Peter Thiel is in Rome right now, this morning, right now, in a Renaissance palace, steps from the Vatican, lecturing 200 hand-selected tech billionaires and conservative Christian millionaires all about the Antichrist. And they've all signed NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. No press is allowed whatsoever, no photos, no videos. Okay, so it must be on the up and up, if those are the rules. I want you to sit with that for a second, because I know you've got things going on. I know the rent is insane and the groceries are criminal and your doctor costs more than your car payment and you're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix anymore. I know that. And I'm telling you anyway, you need to hear this, because while you are tired, someone very rich and very organized decided that the reason you shouldn't have a say in how artificial intelligence gets built or who owns it or what it does to your job and your kids and your privacy, the reason for all that is theological. Yeah, you've been missing it. It's all about God. It is not about you or what you see or what you think. It's theological. Right now, Peter Thiel and his buddies are saying that regulars are agents of Satan. And it's meaningful, especially to Protestants. Got to remember who burnt the witches, at least in this country. He's saying that Greta Thunberg, a kid with a sailboat, is a foot soldier of the Antichrist. Not as a metaphor. He's saying it. He's saying it out loud. It was in a leaked recording with the calm of a man who has never once had to worry about his electric bill. He's got this framework from Carl Schmitt, who was a Nazi. And I'm not editorializing here. That's his resume. Putting on Carl Schmitt, Nazi legal theorist, World War II. That's the intellectual backbone of the theological position that's currently being delivered in a Roman palazzo to the people who own your internet, to the people who own your phone, to the people who own your search results, and to the people who increasingly own your government. And the Vatican, the actual Vatican, the 2,000-year-old institution that has watched emperors come and go and has seen everything, they looked at Peter Thiel setting up shop in their neighborhood and they said, and I'm quoting their official newspaper, the dark side of technology. So that's actually reassuring, isn't it? When the Pope calls you the dark side, well, that's a brand. And the Pope is from Chicago, so he knows a thing or two about Vienna beef hot dogs, sauerkraut, and relish. So here's what this actually is. Stripped of the vestments and the palazzo and the Carl Schmitt footnotes. It's a man worth billions of dollars who does not want his companies regulated, who does not want democratic institutions to have authority over artificial intelligence, who does not want you to have a vote on any of it. And he has decided that the most efficient way to achieve that is to make opposition to him literally satanic. Wow. Wow. Think about how airtight that is. Think about the elegance of it. If you can stomach the elegance there, you can't argue policy with prophecy. I mean, this red and blue country we live in, this is the conundrum that people have. You can't argue with the other side because it's prophecy for them. It's just a belief system. It's untouchable. It's unfathomable. They can't explain it. They can't break it down. All they can say is, but it's prophecy. You know, I heard it somewhere. Good enough. And, you know, you're filled with facts and data and, you know, critical thinking and humor, and maybe you recycle. God knows. You might bathe even chronically. But you can't argue with that because their brains are different. You can't hold a congressional hearing on the book of Revelation. You can't organize a union against the catacon. Once you've moved the conversation from legislation to eschatology, the billionaire wins automatically because democracy has no jurisdiction in the end times. That's the product. That's what's being sold in that palazzo today. And here's the thing that should keep you up at night. And I don't mean with your Viagra. That's different, and that's legal, and hopefully you still have a prescription, and maybe it's still covered by Medicare. I mean keeping you up, not rhetorically, but literally lying awake and thinking all about this. What we're talking about is actually working. It's working. It's working. The vice president of the United States is Peter Thiel's guy. The regulatory agencies and agents are being dismantled, fired, laid off, boom, gone. The AI companies are running without guardrails, and somewhere in Rome, under a painted ceiling, a very wealthy man is explaining to other very wealthy men that God is on their side and Satan is filing the paperwork to slow them down. I want to hear from you. I want to know, do you think this is religion? I mean, kind of feels like it. It's certainly built as it. A new religion, tax-free, of course. Do you think it's politics? Do you think there's a difference anymore? Do you think there should be a difference anymore? Because I've got a position that's probably both missionary and doggy, but I want to hear yours. 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Our text line, 310-737-TALK. Because the one thing Peter Thiel's palazzo doesn't have room for is your voice, and we're going to fix that right now. Let's go to Hugo in Vista Del Mar. You're on the Cary Harrison Files. Welcome.
Good afternoon, guys. How are you?
Good to hear your voice, my friend.
Good, thanks. I don't know if my take on this is the same as yours, but I do believe that the engineered reality that the tech bro douches that you hear about on the news all the time, their greatest strength is to make us, Joe Q Public, whoever that is, to make us feel like we're the only ones who are in this fight. And if you, like you said, to be engaged with other real, living, breathing, stinky other people, it is part of the solution to help us win this terrible part of history that we're part of right now.
Yeah, you nailed it. What an excellent other angle to look at that from. You're right. Every way that we could be isolated, separated, and think we're having our own unique experience and that we're generally powerless, except all the power is sitting in the screens of our devices, where all the answers are, where our friends are, our real friends. Do you remember when Facebook came out? Formerly, we had a world called, what was it, MySpace? Wasn't that just crap? Do you remember MySpace? Yeah. So then Facebook comes out and you get to have friends, except they're not like real friends. They're like fake friends. And back then you could have, 50, 100, 300, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 friends who you've never met just because they asked to be your friend. Look, a friend request, click yes. And it has trained us. This is part of the genius of it. It has trained us over and over again that these are what friends look like. They're not real. You get a friend request and now it's your friend. So you can have thousands of friends. They're not friends. They will turn on you in 2 seconds. They don't know anything about you, nothing. And never in human history has anyone been able to redefine friendship in that way. And you and I know, because we're regular, live, normal humans, that you get in life, in real life, 3, 4 friends, really real ones that you can trust, that you would hand your checkbook, put it in their palms, and know they're not going to steal from you. Tell them the horrific truth about your real fears or what you did last night that you feel bad about. Friends, real ones, not drinking buddies, but real friends. But this is the magic of digital living. Let's go to Carlos. Carlos, you're on the Cary Harrison Files. Welcome.
Yes, thanks so much for taking the call. You are perfectly on point. The problem is we're not reading Revelations. It's already there. Revelations 13 is being fulfilled in our time. And basically, that's it. If we will actually read the scriptures, we will see that in time, right now, we are fulfilling that prophecy. Things are moving so rapidly, but we are fulfilling Revelation 13. And yes, it is a holy war.
Do you have a workaround, Carlos, so that, much of the fun here is trying to figure out how to step over it, under it, through it, around it, so that we're not just clobbered? Because if you and I just sit and kumbaya about how we're going to be clobbered and there's no point, and the end is actually coming just like they say, they want us to believe it. I don't really believe it. And I wonder what power we have to not be knuckled under by this. Do you have any thoughts?
If you are a believer in Christ, right? Because the issue is we are not wrestling with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers of darkness and wickedness in high places. See, so you put your hand on the high place, and the players are there. The issue is we need to turn to the creator of this world, because we're dealing with an enemy that we have no actual leverage on.
I think many of us would, and have, turned to the creator of the world, would wish that creator would intervene. Couple thousands of years, at least the last sort of printed evidence would be a couple thousand years ago. Certainly 100 years ago, people were praying their brains out and there didn't seem to be any intervention. Any ideas how we can trigger a response and stop this madness?
Not to accept the mark of the beast, because that is what's being issued to you. Basically means the sign of authority. The sign of authority that is contrary to the sign of authority that God instituted back in the Garden of Eden. It is a sign of his authority over your life. So we're going to be offered the mark of the beast, and most people are going to accept it because of deception. That's all this is about, deceiving you to give up your true heritage, which connected to our Christian value. In fact, what you see as Christianity is actually paganism disguised as Christianity.
Well, we know that. Yes, definitely that. Cyrus the Great, Cary Eleison comes from Cyrus the Great. Zeus, or Zeus, the god of all gods, from which we get Deus, or Deuteronomy, Jesus. All of it comes from the ancient Greeks. I wish we had more time. I love this conversation, Carlos. I love it. I hope you'll call back. Leo, it looks like we don't have time to take your call and everyone else, but this is kind of an interesting rub, because we've been talking about they're building a theology and using stuff that everyone has been raised to believe and saying it's happening. And here's the evidence. And if you want to have talk about climate change and do anything good, you're actually working with the devil, when in fact these scriptures are saying, do good, be nice, behave. They're saying the opposite. And here we are actually having a theological discussion saying we all need to get more immersed in this stuff that's being presented at the Palazzo in Rome today. So it's just such a delicious meta irony. I wish we had more time. Shoot me an email or comment on the Substack if you would. I'm going to publish all of this, plus the calls, everything else. Make sure you put stuff in the comment line. CaryHarrison.com is where you can get the Substack, CaryHarrison.com. I want to thank the great Renee Yawarski, who is our beautiful technical director and just my brain. I am but a pulsating mushroom cap in a sea. I don't know what I'm saying, but she is awesome. And also I want to give a shout out to Will in the control room at our mothership KPFK in Los Angeles. And I look forward to seeing you next week at this time.
This pussy grabs back. The Cary Harrison Files. CaryHarrison.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? Well, you call low-cost airlines because they specialize in cheap flights, in discount hotel rooms, in cheap car rentals, and with the best price guarantee. Often 75% off. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795.
How'd it happen?
She showed up dead on arrival.
This never gets easier.
It does when you call CarShield before your car breaks down. Look at these prices. The camshaft, transmission, engine.
Don't people know? A plan through CarShield could protect up to 5,000 parts and systems.
You hate to see it.
An out-of-warranty car is going to break down eventually.
Right, which is why they need a plan through CarShield.
Best of all, you'll get access to CarShield's concierge service, who can even help you find a mechanic near you.
They're notifying the family.
Poor guy. He doesn't even know what's coming.
Another victim of senselessly expensive repair bills. Can't save them all.
But we can keep trying. Didn't have to end this way. If he'd have just called CarShield before his car broke down.
Exactly.
CarShield has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and was voted America's most trusted auto protection company. It's time to call CarShield now. Call 800-786-8390. 800-786-8390. Call 800-786-8390.